dealing with that toxic family member and trying to remember it's their first time too, is that it's also your first time being a parent and trying to deal with mending those relationships with your parents or whoever the family member is while also being a parent. And you can take okay, like I said, I don't want to do that, but you also have to consider yourself too. It's, what are my kids watching of how I'm mending this relationship, or how do I handle it? Because you also don't want to teach your kids that anytime someone does you wrong, it's okay to just cut them off. Like,
remember taking a name, if you coded the door, and welcome to the game.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Dear Dilemma. I'm Hannah.
I'm Brooke. And we have a submission for you today. And we always say it's a good one.
Well, I know, but I mean, they are. And I also feel like this one is really good for around the holidays, which is, kind of holiday time now. And
things get a little more stressful, a little bit more intense. You got to be around some people you may not like. And that submission is, should you end relationships from toxic family members?
This one cuts deep, because I feel like we've all had at least one family member we felt like is toxic or that we have trouble dealing with. And it's do you cut them completely off? Do you deal with their stuff? Do you just put kind of a wall up and keep some distance? But they're family, so you have to love them. It's you spiral about it. You know?
How do you go about dealing with it? Is it easier just to deal with them during that time, and then it's just a short period, like a holiday?
Yeah, what you're obligated to.
Or do you just say no? Mm-hmm. I know people that have said, you know what, we can't handle our, father-in-law side of the family any longer, or my dad's side of the family, or my mom's side of the family, or whatever it may be, and we just don't go anymore. Yeah. And we are happier, and we're more content with having our own Thanksgiving, our own Christmas, or we do we've made our own tradition on those days instead of having to feel like, the guilt comes in of, well, what if, I don't want to go because I don't like so-and-so, or I really don't get along with the whole family, but I want to make sure I'm there because my grandma and grandpa may not be around the next year, which that could go for anybody. I mean, that doesn't just mean it's the
Or
elderly.
If you have kids involved, you're well, I don't want to separate my kid from, so-and-so. But it's hard when it's so stressful to be around that person, and depending on the toxicity level too. I don't know, are they abusive? Are they outwardly emotionally abusive maybe? There's so many different layers to that. It could be anywhere from they just trigger you to, full on being abusive and different things. So it depends on the level of toxicity, whether you cut them completely off too, right? That.
Well, and it's going to take, how much can you handle until you explode? It's how we joked about doing that TikTok of, what's his name? Is it DMX? And it's you're whack, you're twisted, your girl's up. And then it's you're broke, kid ain't yours. And everybody knows. It's how far can you go on taking in the toxicity before you start calling everybody out on their stuff? Yeah. You got to almost, where's your meter at?
You know what? That is so true. I'm actually glad you said that, because personally I've been dealing with something like this, similar. Yeah. And I've noticed that if I get a little bit more stressed and I'm around that person a little bit more, I start saying how I feel. My
Sometimes
filter kind of breaks, and then I'm oops, did I just say that out loud? And I'm,
never apologize. Never apologize.
I'm it is the truth. I'm almost to the point where I don't care, and I should just tell, I should just say it.
Well, if they're saying how they feel and they don't have a filter, and it's okay for them to, come at you in some way, or it may not be about you. It could be about your husband or
anybody, anything.
Someone on your husband's family, something like that, or your friend. It's okay to sometimes feed that energy back to that person. They almost need a taste of their own medicine. And it's don't call me out until you work on the stuff that you need to work on. Then you can come talk to me about my stuff. And if I'm not willingly, openly asking you about a situation, don't think that it's okay that you can just tell somebody about how you feel about whoever's they're with, or whatever it may be, whatever situation. Because you need to wait for that opening of them coming to you for advice or talking about it, instead of going, well, I see so-and-so is not here again. Yeah. And you're just okay, yeah.
It's just, it's
I'm
frustrating.
Glad it bothers you more than it bothers me.
Yeah. Well, and people get so in a tizzy about a lot of little things. And it's hard to be around sometimes because it might be things that don't really bother you, but then they almost like work you up because they're so upset about it or they're making it a big deal.
Yeah. Like I've said in our past episodes of Thanksgiving and stuff, I swear they do it on purpose now, but it's like as soon as I walk in to my family's holiday time, they start coming. It's like I walk in and it's like my sister's telling me something, my aunt's telling me something, my cousin's telling me something, my brother's telling me something, and they're all saying something at the same time. Literally one foot's in the door frame, and I go, if you don't stop, like as soon I just no hello, hey, how are you? It's already blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I'm gone. I'm sorry, like you won't see me. This is it. Hi, bye. Yeah, see you later. Because I don't want to. I think you hit an age where you're just like, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. You're hurting my peace. You're not protecting my peace. And I don't care to listen to what you have to say. And I don't care to listen to what your comments are anymore. And you're too judgmental. I can't handle it anymore. And that's not with just, well, it is family is the topic, but that could go with anybody.
It could be. And society, I think that's what's so hard, I think, to completely cut off family members is because society expects you to have a relationship with your family. Oh, but it's your family. You know, why don't you have a relationship with them? You really should work on that. You should really patch that up. And it's like some people don't know all of the layers of hurt of how family members have hurt us in the past and created a lot of like generational trauma and different things that really hit home. And it's like, how do you sit down and try to explain to that person that's telling you need a relationship with this toxic family member, like, okay, but you know, when I was 6, they did this. Like, I'm not trying to keep score, but like they've done so many things to hurt me over the years that it's not worth my peace.
Well, not all things need to be patched up either. Some things are meant to be left unpatched, and that, you know, maybe you have tried to mend those things and you've given it 1 or 2 tries. It doesn't work. It's okay. It doesn't have to be. I think it's okay that you can cut off toxic family. Yeah. I think it is because, I mean, my dad's done it. They don't talk to their sister. They don't claim their sister. She's crazy. And I wouldn't know who she is in public, to be honest, because I haven't seen her in that long. And that's fine. Like, it's protected their peace. It's protected drama that they don't need to be involved in. And no one's hurting over it. No one's like, oh my gosh, now if my grandma was still alive, maybe it would be a problem. But it's not. And that's okay. Like, that's when... Like you have a family, you have a husband and a kid, you're then your own family. So then you start your own stuff. Like,
or your own traditions. You said that earlier.
Yeah, you don't have to be involved, you know, with your full family, big family.
Right. I do think it's hard when it's your parent, maybe, that you're trying to, that is maybe a toxic parent, and you're trying to cut them off. Because I do think there's like an element of people pleasing when it comes to your parent. And when you're the child and they're the parent, and you kind of feel like that obligation in a way. And so I think that one is probably ultra complicated compared to like if it's a cousin or
a little bit easier of a cutoff.
An aunt or somebody. Yeah. I mean, I think siblings probably and parents are probably the like closest the hardest. You are. Yeah.
Unless you were raised by grandparents or aunt and uncles, and then that, it is. I think that's hard too. But I also think the older you get, the more things end up you finding out or discovering that you weren't aware of, and then that makes you possibly see, you know, viewpoints differently. I've gotten more vocal. I used to just not say anything back to my mom or my dad, and now I put them in their place. I mean, my dad doesn't really say anything, but like my mom is a little vocal, and I'll just put her back in her place. I'm like, you need to work on this before you start coming at me about that, because like you got, like, if you want to play, you know, tit for tat, let's go. But that's a personal problem I need to control.
I do think it's hard though. Like you said, you get to a certain age where you do learn a lot more about your siblings and your parents, and you see a different perspective of them than growing up, and you really have to kind of make a decision whether or not you want that person to be in your life, because it can trigger certain things and it can cause issues as far as trying to overcome those things and not be succumbed to that like people pleasing personality of like, oh, I'm just gonna suck it up and make it work, or I'm gonna show up to XYZ that they invited me to because I feel obligated to go because they're my family. Like, no, you can just say, no, we're not going.
It's
or
no,
I can't be there.
No's a full sentence.
It really is. And
you answer on the questions. Do you want this? Yes or no? No. Yes. There doesn't need to be an explanation of that.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's then where a sibling wants to call and be like, hey, why don't you want to come? And you feel comfortable talking to them about that, then fine. Go ahead. But you don't need to explain yourself. I mean, they probably know what's going on too, more than likely. And also I think those the toxicness and the older that you get and the things that you can realize, I think people also take that into consideration of how they want to differently parent their kids. Like, hey, I know I grew up like this, or I've noticed this as I've gotten older. I didn't see that as a kid. I don't want to do that when I have kids. I want to make sure I'm doing what they didn't. And I've heard friends and people talk about that too.
Yeah, because and I think it's harder to probably get away from it and do differently if you still have that person in your life, like really fully in your life. Yeah. And I think that it's like, I don't know about you, but like your parents are divorced as well, and one is remarried. My parents are divorced, both are remarried. And there's a lot of things as an adult that I've sort of started to uncover about when my parents were actually married and things that went on between them that I kind of look back on, and now it makes more like it's all like, oh, I was too young to understand it at the time, but now I'm understanding like what some of these things were when you look back on it. And it creates a different layer of a relationship with them. Yeah, because you're like, well, I don't really agree with like what you did there, or I know why you did this, and I was mad at you when I was a kid, but like now I get why you weren't there at my basketball game or whatever. Like you were under so much pressure, or you were doing this and that, and
you also have to think that they're not sticking up for the toxicness of family members, but it's their first time. Like if it's a parent, it's their first time parenting too, and trying to deal with being a parent on top of, you know, when the arguments you never thought like when your parents argued that they would end up in divorce. Right. And there's probably arguments that you didn't hear, or things that they discussed that you obviously weren't aware of. And so you also have to take in consideration of it's their first time being a parent too. It's their first time living on earth. And how do you some people will fix it later on and later on in life apologize, like mending their relationship with their children. And some don't. Some are just like, oblivious. That's just how they are. They're oblivious to it. And they're like, I've done nothing wrong. I don't know why you treat me like this, or things like that. And I mean, I hear stories all the time, whether it's social media or friends and family of, I mean, even family you find out things when like grandparents die, and you're like, well, grandma and grandpa actually did this, and this. You're like, oh, they did what?
Scandalous. Grandpa was a closet smoker.
What? They were what? So it's like, oh my gosh, the tea is piping hot.
It really is. I love what you said though, just about it being your friend, because I think that you do have to extend some grace to your toxic family member, because what made them toxic, right? Like they might have gotten through some drama that they need some counseling for, and it's good to, I think, initially maybe extend a little grace, but if that grace, there's a boundary too. Yeah, like you can't continue to extend it time after time after time.
I think the other positive to that is, dealing with that toxic family member and trying to remember it's their first time too, is that it's also your first time being a parent, and trying to deal with mending those relationships with your parents or whoever the family member is, while also being a parent. And you can take like, okay, like I said, I don't want to do that, but you also have to consider yourself too. It's, what are my kids watching of how I'm mending this relationship, or how do I handle it? Because you also don't want to teach your kids that anytime someone does you wrong, it's okay to just cut them off. Like sometimes, yes, depending on the situation. If you're like me, you did me wrong, see you later. But other times,
Scorpio in her.
Yeah, they're not trying to be better. But other times it is better to teach them too, like how to properly try to mend the relationship, and like show them like, hey, it's okay to give someone a first or second chance, and then you can kind of there's always different aspects and different views of how to handle toxicness and how you're handling it, of dealing with that relationship, while also maybe trying to teach your kids, because they look up to you, and that will teach them of, well, I've got some friends that are like, my mom and me are really, really close, and that's my best friend. I call her every day. And I'm like, well, my mom and I aren't like best friends. I mean, yeah, I'll call her, but like she was driving me crazy there, and I asking questions, and I'm like, I told her, I'm like, I can't take this anymore. You're stressing me out even worse. Like, I gotta go. Like, quit texting me for a little bit. And then she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm like, just call me at that point. If you're gonna send me 10 text messages of 5 million different questions, just call me, because now you're stressing me out even worse. And I used to not say anything. But now I'm standing my ground and be like, hey, you're stressing me. Like, you are causing me stress.
Yeah. So. And I know you might not agree with this, because it is a little bit of like a cuckoo thing. I'm just going to be honest, but I kind of have this like running joke going with a particular family member, because it's about another family member. And I'm like, man, they are just such a young soul. Like, I can tell they've never, ever lived a life before. And I don't know if you believe in like reincarnation, but there's just something like innately in me that I'm like, I have lived lives before this. And I'm just very confident in that. And I am a Christian, and I know that like that's not really a Christian belief, but it's just that I'm very confident that I have learned a lot in a lot of other past lives in order to be like where I'm at right now at 30 in this life. And then I look at this person, I'm like, you're a child. You're such a child. Like, you're an adult, but you're such a child, because like this is like your very first time on this earth. It's your very first time ever learning anything, and you just have so much to learn, and you're gonna have to keep redoing this life a lot of times. You're
not done here yet, buddy.
Like, such a young soul. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of
on her way to heaven probably after this life, but that one's got a few rounds.
Got a lot of rounds to go. No, I mean, I know that probably sounds so off the wall, but
I think people would agree to what you're saying.
There's just something that tells me, I'm like, man, they really got a lot of life cycles left.
There's a lot loose up in there. Like, let me knock on that. Does that sound hollow? Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating, because I'm like, I just wish that this person would like learn or like see what's going on, but they're just such an immature soul that they just don't, like, they don't even realize that it's like an issue, or they don't want to get better, or they don't want to change their behavior, and like they're never going to change. And I'm like,
some people are very self-centered like that, and they just are in a lot. Everyone's in their own world. Some people are a little bit more insightful of stepping outside of that world, like out in public, making sure you're aware of not running into somebody or saying something. And then you have people that are just so self-centered that like they bump into you and it's your fault.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second, hold on, that's not. So yeah, I get what you mean. That's what it is. I just think got a lot of lives to live.
Like, life is so much about, and this probably could be a different topic, but I think it's just so much more about other people and relationships and how you move through life, the decisions you make, the people you impact, how you can be a positive influence in people's lives. And to see someone that's so self-centered and so wrapped up and like doesn't even acknowledge that they need to change is really, really frustrating to me. Because I'm like, you really just have so much to learn about life. Like, just sorry, maybe I'm 180 years old.
No, it's so true, because then we're so off topic now, but then there's kids that come in and you're just like, that kid's an old soul. Like, kid's been here. Like, that soul's
they know
been
too
here.
much. My son does that sometimes. He'll like say random stuff, and I'm like, I think you were here before. You were an old man. Yeah. I know you were.
Were you in the Titanic? What was it like? How cold was that water?
Have you actually, sorry, this is really off topic too, but I'm just like on this now, so I can't get off of it. But have you seen where they have hypnotized people and they will say their exact name, birthday, like what their career was, their family members, and they'll look back and
find it
for a past life, and they'll look back and confirm it, and they're like real people, like 1920s in Italy or something, like different countries, different people, different lives, but it's like all confirmed.
Well, I think that gets into, and we'll wrap this up after this comment, but I think that gets into the questions of the afterlife and what happens, because I don't think that your when you stop breathing, the light turns off and that's it. I think our souls truly do go somewhere. And I mean, obviously I believe in heaven and I hope that's heaven. But even if you don't believe in that, I just don't think that you're done. There's everyone's just so unique in their own ways, toxic or not toxic.
Yeah.
That you're not just done. Like I just don't believe that.
I think we should do an
we
episode
do an
about
episode
that.
On this.
Yeah, because
we'll put it in our calendar.
There's like a lot more to this that we could dive deeper into. We won't now because obviously
cut your family's toxic family member.
But maybe your toxic family member is just a really young soul and only done one life cycle, and this is their first life cycle, and they just don't know anything.
That is so fun. I cannot wait to use that this Thanksgiving when someone smart says something to me. Usually my step grandpa. So wow. You must have only lived in this life one time. You've got a lot of life left to live, buddy.
Yep.
You got a lot of lives left to live. But anyways, let us know what you think in the comments. I think you just got to do what's best for you. And if it protects your peace and you feel have a clear mindset and you're like, wow, you wake up the next morning like birds and the bees are chirping and bird. Anyways, you know what I mean? It's rainbows and sunshine. Then do it. I mean, or just try to avoid them at all costs. But I think everyone is up to really, that's a deep thought before you make any cuts.
Yeah, you got to figure out where that boundary is and cut them off completely or maybe just keep them at a distance.
Yeah.
But
so let us know
in the comments. Our QR code's right here. Add your own submission. I would love to have some more life topics too. Just I don't know, like anything in there.
Crazy. You can write in a crazy story that happened to you because I'm sure somehow we'll relate to it.
Oh my gosh, I just thought of a crazy story.
We'll save it for next time. Make sure to follow us on our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Dear Dilemma Official. We'll see you next week.
We love you guys. Thanks for riding along with our crazy thoughts. Bye.